I'm 45 years old. I'm not a detective. I'm not paranoid. I'm not the kind of man who goes through his wife's phone in the middle of the night. My name is Daniel, civil engineer. 2 kids, Ethan, 16, and Sophie, 13. Claire and I have been together for 20 years. We got married young when all we had was 1 mattress and 2 boxes of books. 20 years. I just want you to understand that before I start, it all began on a Friday in March, or an ordinary evening. I came home early. A client cancelled. Claire was at the stove. Dinner was already ready. The kids were doing homework. Everything as usual, except one thing. When I walked into the kitchen, she put her phone down. Quickly, without a word. Just placed it face down on the table and turned to me with a smile. "You're early today?" "Yeah, the meeting got cancelled." "Good," she said. "Eat while it's hot." I sat down. We ate. The evening passed normally, but that gesture, phone face down, I remembered it. Not because I decided something was wrong. I just remembered it. The brain does that sometimes without asking permission. Over the next 2 weeks, I started noticing small things. Claire began going to bed later. Not by much. An hour, maybe an hour and a half. She said she was reading. I didn't check. She started going to the gym on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That was new before. She worked out at home, following YouTube videos. I said it was great. She smiled and said she needed a change of scenery. She bought new underwear. I noticed it in the laundry. Nothing provocative, just new. She didn't mention it and I didn't ask. You understand, right? Each one of these things is a 0. An absolute 0. A wife goes to the gym. A wife reads at night. A wife buys underwear, but together they were adding up to something. What exactly? I didn't know yet. At the end of March, we went to her friend Ellen's birthday party. I had a glass of wine. Claire had too. We laughed. Everything was fine. On the way home, she held my hand, just like that, out of habit. And that night I couldn't sleep, not because anything had happened. The opposite. Everything was fine. But that was exactly what bothered me. Because I realized for weeks we'd been existing side by side, but not together. We talked about the kids, about bills, about summer plans, but not to each other. Not really. I lay in the dark and thought, when did we last talk about something real? I couldn't remember, and then for the first time the thought came, not as a shout, as a quiet question, almost polite. What if? I pushed it away, lay down, forced myself to sleep, but the question didn't go anywhere. I'm not an impulsive person. I'm an engineer. I'm used to gathering data. So I didn't go through her phone. I didn't hire a private investigator. I just started watching my own home. My own wife.it was a strange feeling. I started noticing when she took her phone to another room. I started tracking when she got back from the gym. I started listening to her voice. The tone, not the words. After a week, I had a list. Not evidence, just observations. Tuesday, 7:40 p.m. back from the gym. She said the session ended at 7 o'clock and the gym is 7 minutes away. Thursday went out for milk, came back 40 minutes later. The store is 3 minutes away. Friday evening, phone on silent. All night, again. Each of these had an innocent explanation. Traffic, stopped by a friend's, dead battery, but I couldn't stop anymore on Sunday. When the kids went to her mother's, I decided to talk, not about cheating. I wasn't there yet. I just wanted to ask, are you okay? Are we okay? We sat at the kitchen table. I poured coffee. She was looking out the window. Claire, I said, I feel like something has changed. Between us, she turned. Her face was calm. Nothing's changed, Dan. You're tired from work. I'm tired. That's normal. You've become sort of distant. I'm right here. She picked up her mug. I'm not going anywhere. She said it so evenly that I almost believed her. Almost, because right then her phone buzzed on the table. She didn't look at it, not once. Through our entire conversation, she didn't look at it, even though she always used to reply to messages immediately. When I left the room, I heard her typing. That night, while she slept, I picked up her phone. I hated myself for it. I swear I hated it. For 20 years, I'd never done this. Claire and I built our marriage on trust. That was our foundation. The phone was locked. Before, she had no passcode, just a fingerprint. And I knew the backup combination in case she ever needed help. Now there was a 6-digit code. I didn't know it. I put the phone back, lay down, stared at the ceiling. The 6-digit code had appeared about 2 months ago. I remembered it exactly. I'd even joked, hiding state secrets? She laughed and said she'd read an article about data security. I hadn't thought anything of it at the time. Now it meant something. I took a day off the following Tuesday, told Claire. I was heading to a site out of town, said goodbye to the kids, got in the car, drove around the corner, and stopped. It was humiliating. I want you to understand that. A 45-year-old man sitting in his car 2 blocks from his own house, waiting for his wife to leave for the gym. At T6:15, her car pulled out of the garage. I followed. She didn't go to the gym. She drove to a different neighborhood, quiet, residential, parked outside a small CAF on the corner, got out, fixed her hair in the rearview mirror. I stopped half a block back and watched. She went inside. I sat for 5 minutes, then got out of the car, walked to the window. Claire was sitting at a table against the wall. Across from her, a person, a man. She was saying something and he leaned forward. The way people lean when they want to be closer. I couldn't see his face, only his back. Dark jacket, short hair. He took her hand. She didn't pull it away. I stood at that window for maybe 30 seconds. Then I left, got in the car, started the engine, pulled out onto the highway and drove. Just drove with no destination until my hands stopped shaking. I thought I'd be furious, that I'd walk in there, make a scene, say something loud, final. None of that happened. I just sat because part of me still hoped I'd read it all wrong, that he was a colleague, an old friend, a cousin. That hope was poison, but I held on to it. I got home at 9. Claire was already there, back before me. She'd warmed up dinner, asked how the site visit went. I said fine. She told me Ethan had gotten into an argument with a friend. We talked about it, then watched something on TV, then went to bed. She kissed me before sleep. I kissed her back. I lay in the dark and listened to her breathing. Steady, calm. She fell asleep quickly, as always. I stared at the ceiling and thought about hands, about the way that man had taken hers, about the way she hadn't pulled it away. 20 years, 2 kids, 1 mattress and 2 boxes of books. At the very beginning, the next morning, I did something I should have done earlier, or never. Claire has an old iPad she passed down to the kids but sometimes borrows back to read. 1 Apple account, and if the messages were synced, they were synced. The iPad was on the bookshelf in the living room. I picked it up while Claire was in the shower, opened it, went to messages. There was a name, just a first name, no last. A saved contact. I opened the thread. 3 messages were enough. I closed the iPad, put it back, walked to the kitchen and poured a glass of water. Because I needed something to do with my hands, a glass of water, cold. I stared out the window, outside. It was an ordinary morning. Birds, cars, the neighbor walking his dog, inside. 20 years had just broken in half. Claire was cheating on me. That was a fact. No longer a question. No longer a suspicion. A fact. And as I stood at the window with a glass of water in my hand, there was only one thing on my mind. Who is he? To be continued.